You made the hard decision. You're not going to give your child a smartphone. Congratulations. Now you're terrified. How do you tell your child this? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. To give you word for word what you can say to your child, a foolproof plan. I'm Dr. Johann, a clinical psychologist. Been speaking on this for 8 years, mentoring kids for 15 years. Today, you're going to learn how to tell your child that he's never going to get a smartphone. The first step is for you and your spouse to get 100% aligned on what the message is and on the follow through. If y'all are not in agreement, get that done first. Check out the previous video on spousal alignment. If there's any crack, friction between y'all, your child can get in there and manipulate it. Maybe it's not Machiavellian, but intentionally or unintentionally, to play you off each other. Second, pick the right time to have this conversation. It's not going to be a moment when you're upset or your child's upset. Pick a moment when people are rested, you're not stressed out to get to the next event. People have eaten, they're relaxed, and you can have one-on-one attention with your child, or two-on-one really. It should be both spouses together ideally, but they're focused, you're focused, and you can do this properly. It's also helpful for you to be clear on why you're doing this. It's not because you heard this on a YouTube video. It's because you really believe that this is what is best for your child. You're doing this because you love your child, because you want to protect him. You're protecting his brain development. You're protecting him from pornography addiction. You're giving him a real childhood. You're giving him a future. If you're not convinced, it's going to be hard to convince your child. Next, you sit down with them and have the conversation. This is how it sounds. We want to talk to you about something important. You're not in trouble. You haven't done anything wrong. This is not a punishment. We have made a decision about what we are going to do as parents regarding screens and smartphones. So notice so far, the tone is, it's calm, it's serious, it's loving at the same time. Also, I haven't mentioned what the child is going to do at all, only what the parents are going to do. Let's continue. We have decided that the harms of smartphones for children outweigh the benefits. Therefore, we are never going to give you a smartphone. Not when you're 13, not when you're 16 and going to drive. Not when you're 18. We're not putting this on the child. This is on the parents. This is something that you as parents have complete control over. And then you end with conviction. This is our final decision. We're not going to change it. Now, you said your piece. You don't have to explain further. It's up to your behavior to follow through with consistency. And that is what's going to convince your child from this point out, is your behavior, not any fancy argument that you provide. You don't have to apologize for this approach. You don't have to soften it. You don't have to say maybe later. You don't have to say, we'll think about it. You don't have to say, let's see how this goes, and then we'll talk about it again. You made a very clear announcement that is about what you as a parent are going to do, not about what the child is going to do. And it's your job now to follow through with your actions. That's called parenting. Be prepared for strong emotions. Be prepared for pushback. Be prepared for behavioral dysregulation and tantrums. That's okay. That's to be expected. That's even a good sign. This is called the extinction burst in behavioral psychology. It means whenever we don't feed the addiction, we're going to expect bad behavior at first, to test the boundaries, to test your limits, to test if you're going to cave. And that is where it's so important for you to follow through with consistency. Because if you cave, then you're going to be beholden to your child's emotions, even more so going forward. But if you stay strong, the behavior is going to resolve, they're going to calm, and it's going to be easier and easier over time. And you have increased your parental authority, and everything you say in the future has greater authority behind it. Now, in order to form their judgment, which is part of virtue development, and to show that you really have thought through this, it can be helpful to offer an explanation of your thought process. Not because you're open to negotiation or because you feel compelled to provide it based on their tantrum, but because you want to do them the service of recognizing that they have rationality. So this is what you can say. We're doing this because we love you and want to protect you. If you have younger children, like 10 to 13 years old, you would add this. Smartphones are designed to be addictive. They're designed by thousands of professionals whose job it is to make you look at the screen for longer periods of time. And they're very effective at it. This is why these companies make billions of dollars. They mess with your brain, make it hard to focus, hard to be happy, hard to be yourself. We've also seen what happens when other parents give their children smartphones. The kids get anxious, they get distracted, they don't play outside anymore. They're not being kids anymore. If you're talking to an older teen, 14 to 17 years old, you can mention the research a little bit more. What we know is that depression and anxiety have doubled since 2010 when smartphones became popularized. Suicidality has quadrupled. On average, a child's first exposure to pornography is at 11 years old, oftentimes through a smartphone. And after that first exposure, it's very likely that an addiction develops that lasts for years, even decades. Social media creates constant comparisons in girls, leading to anxiety and depression. In boys, video games quickly lead to addiction and quickly also lead the schoolwork to be put on the back burner. We're not willing to expose you to those risks. Your brain is still developing. That is why we want to protect you. And then you add on to this, the positive part. This is one of my favorite parts. Instead of a smartphone, this is what we're going to give you: a real childhood. Time to spend in person with friends. Opportunities to play outside. Time to read. Time to develop real skills, real responsibilities, more time with family, so that you can grow into a confident, competent adult. This is the gift we're giving you, even though it may not feel like it right now. At this point, your child may raise a bunch of objections. Let's address that in the next video. For now, I'm Dr. Johann D'Souza. Reach out to me if you want me to speak to your community, and check out the free guide below, the 4 critical moments that most parents miss.